Now, Baldur's Gate doesn't have this yet, but if you're going to play D&D, you're going to run into Lycanthropes. Lycanthropy is one of the most ancient and feared of all curses, transforming the inflicted human into a ravenous beast. Despite that, it is also one of the most easiest curses to hide, one of those the zombie bit me and I'm not going to tell my friends about it kind of situations. Transferred to them by a bite, they spend most of their time looking just like a regular person until the curse is called to on by the full moon, and then their body will shape and change into what kind of animal curse them. These transformations take over them completely, but if the user has enough willpower, they can fight off the animal urges and actually take control of it. But if they surrender to it, they're just going to meet a murderous monster that will just eat and destroy anything they can. Now, if you're bit and you want to get the curse removed, it's pretty simple. If you find a priest or a paladin or anyone who can cast the spell Remove Curse, you can get this pulled off you. Unfortunately, though, if your parents were lycanthropes and you're born into it, the only way to remove it from there is with a Wish spell, which is a level 9 wizard spell that is pretty much banned in most games. Once the person has embraced and then dominated the beastly curse, they can shape change at will into 3 different beings: the human form, their humanoid hybrid form that usually has the beast's face as replacement, or their animal form, which is typically the animal itself but kind of bigger. If you run into a lycanthrope, remember, do not let it bite you. Do not get bit at any cost, unless you really want to roleplay the whole lycanthrope thing, but a talented DM is going to make you really regret it. Don't use weapons that aren't silvered. They have a complete weapon immunity unless the items themselves have been silvered by a clever and smart blacksmith, and it is Inyachi. Of all the lycanthropes, the Werebears are the most able to control their monstrous side. They tend to seclude themselves into forests and are very, very unwilling to pass the curse on to another creature, therefore they don't tend to bite anyone. They'll hold huge great axes or clubs and fight with those instead. Their humanoid form tends to look more on the bearish side. They get very Viking-y, wide shoulders, big beard, lots of body hair. Werebears tend to use their curse for good and use it to protect flora and fauna into a chosen territory that it will guard and live in and protect. Most people won't even know a werebear is there. It's usually just some bearded dude in a shack somewhere. Werebears are tall. I don't have a metric for this. Let's just say werebears are about 3 dwarves stacked on top of each other. And if you run into one, remember, do try to negotiate with it. They're very, very peaceful and they do not want to have to fight or even accidentally bite you. And whatever you do, don't step on any kind of flower or plant or be rude or messy in their forest. They're very protective over it and they will flip out if they find out it was you. And definitely the grumpiest of all the lycanthropes are Wereboars. They're completely reckless. They infect others with their curse without even thinking about it. They do it with their bite and their tusks, goring people and putting them into the same position that they're in. They're incredibly skilled fighters and completely savage, and they take a lot of pleasure in making people hurt as much as possibly. They're so stubborn and relentless that dropping their HP by hitting them with weapons is probably not going to drop it. It's going to get up and it's going to try to attack you again. So don't turn your back. Come together in small families and live in caves inside forests far away from civilization. They are very, very suspicious on newcomers, but sometimes they'll actually side with orcs. Wereboars are big, but not super big. They're more like wide. They're like a regular dude, but standing with another dude. And if you run into a Wereboar, please remember, watch their tusks. They love to spread the curse as much as they possibly can, and those things absolutely hurt. And remember to stay upright. They'll trample you as fast as they can. And if you happen to get on their good side, remember not to mind their manners. They're going to be inherently rude, regardless of how you act. Wererats are quick and agile. They can squeeze their big-ass rat bodies into surprisingly small spaces, letting them escape when they're seemingly cornered. They have really good senses of smells and they can track prey through crowded streets or sewers over really long distances. Their speed gives them multiple attacks in a rapid succession and they will not hesitate to bite their target and spread their curse. They're incredibly cunning and they'll favor ambush, stealth, secrecy over open conflict anytime. In human form, the Wererats are kind of wiry and fighty. They'll have thin hair, beady, twitchy eyes. Wererat clans operate kind of like a thieves guild. They'll have their own code of conduct, clearly defined territory their own thieves can't. They treat their curse as a clan induction, only sharing it with selected humans unless they have to fight and defend themselves. A Wererat who tries to break away from the clan or receives the curse through an accidental bite will probably be hunted ruthlessly down by other clans just to make sure they stay silent. If you run into a Wererat, remember, do try to pay them for information. They're very well informed in all cities and greedy enough to give you anything for something that they want. And whatever you do, do not assume there's only one. They're expert ambushers and always making sure that their side's in favor. Sleek, elegant, and very deadly, Weretigers reflect on both the refined and ferocious sides of their feline nature. They tend to be taller than average humans, but their hybrid and beast forms are way bigger than regular ones. What's funny about Weretigers is they actually prefer to fight in their human form, since it reduces the risk of accidentally passing their curse to someone else. They favor curved blades like scimitars in combat, and also longbows, things that keep them a distance away from someone else. They're super territorial creatures and keep their distance away civilization and live alone or in really small families. They do not mourn their curse, and they're reluctant to increase their numbers since each new weretiger is a potential rival for a hunting ground or a new family. If they do fight you in hybrid form, they're gonna fight kind of like a cat would. They pounce on their targets at least 15 feet away, delivering a really powerful claw attack, which gets them a free bite attack that they'll have with advantage since you're on the ground. And if you run into one, remember, be polite. They're open to interacting with other people as long as they're not a dick. But if someone in your party ends up pissing one of them off, do not keep a distance between them. You want to close the gaps. Fighting at a distance opens up their pounce ability, and they have tons of ranged weaponry, so it's not going to work out very well. And now for the most infamous of all the lycanthropes, the werewolves. These are instinctive predators with heightened senses and relentless in tracking and choosing and hunting down their prey. After being cursed, they rarely remain in settled lands for long. Their new ferocious impulses makes it very difficult to keep hidden. They will lose control eventually and then just murder and eat anything they can find. And those who have a strong enough willpower to fight the beast back inside live in dread of what they might do to their family and friends once the beast gets uncontrolled. They're incredibly powerful fighters in both humanoid and wolf forms, but the werewolves are most terrifying in their hybrid forms. The combination of the furred, muscular body with a wolf's head strikes primal fear in its most hardened adventurers. Although werewolves can wield weapons in their humanoid and hybrid forms, they do prefer to use their claws and teeth to intimately rip apart their victims. Werewolves live in wild, dark places. They carve out territory in tangled forests, overgrown hills, snowy mountains, anywhere far away from human settlements. They tend to move around their domain quite frequently, sleeping out in the open or narrow caves depending on whatever's available. Their humanoid size is just as tall as a regular humanoid, but their hybrid size is about double the size of a regular person. Of all the lycanthrope curses, this is the one you don't want. This is the one where you're going to have to find a priest or a paladin or anyone with remove curse as soon as possible. This is the one that's going to end your game. Or it'll make it the best game you ever had. Neither or, just watch out for wolves. If you are in a situation where there might be werewolves around, remember, do watch out for the full moon. Werewolves are unable to control, well, most of them at least, are unable to control their transformation and their hunger when the full moon is completely out. If you get into a fight with one, just watch out for its teeth. The teeth is what spreads the bite. You're going to have to make a constitution check after this is done, so watch out for that and try to buff your con up. Hey, thanks for watching my video, and thank you to all my sponsors, but especially these guys right here. Adventure and Up on the membership get to be put in the ending credits and into a weekly raffle. Next week, we're going to be giving away my Eldritch Splash t-shirt. I'm super stoked on it, and my mom also thinks it's pretty cool. So, there's that. See you guys around.